It's shocking how much work there is to do, even for the three of us.
And she's been handling it alone all along. The Qixing secretary clearly isn't an ordinary person. It's so frustrating.
Huh. You're just...
Aren't you Ningguang's servants? How come you're here?
We are Miss Ningguang's private secretaries, not servants.
Have you seen Miss Ganyu, Traveler? It has been several days since Ganyu left for Jueyun Karst. She's the general secretary of the Liyue Qixing. We've only taken over her responsibilities until she gets back.
Even though the Qixing have made peace with the Adepti after the latter had denounced Liyue, they still want to pay their respects to the Illuminated Ones. They commissioned Ganyu as their envoy to deliver a letter to Jueyun Karst and bring the Adepti the latest news about the crisis. Still, Ganyu should have been back to her usual responsibilities by now, but she's disappeared without a trace.
Is that so? Maybe Ganyu just took a little detour. Who can blame her after working so hard?
I'm afraid it's not very likely. Ever since we met Ms. Ganyu, she's been nothing but the most conscientious person in all of Liyue. Even when it's time for her annual leave, Ms. Ganyu stays on duty at Yuehai Pavilion saying there is still so much to do. She couldn't possibly be using her mission as an excuse to slack off.
Oh, Paimon sees how it is. But she's half Adeptus. She wouldn't get in trouble, right? Why do you look so upset?
It's because of this absurd workload of hers. When we first heard the three of us would be taking over for Miss Ganyu, we thought it would simply be a matter of changing our work environment.
We couldn't have imagined that Miss Ganyu's daily workload far exceeds what the three of us are used to doing.
Speaking of Jueyun Karst, Traveler, I've heard that you can go in and out of there as you please.
Of course! We've been there lots of times.
That's good news. Could you go to Jueyun Karst and find Miss Ganyu for us? Preferably before we collapse under this workload. We're saved. I remember Miss Ganyu said that she'd be visiting Cloud Retainer's abode. You might as well start looking for her there.
It's about time she came back to work. Otherwise...
No, perhaps we should go to Lady Ningguang first and bring up our overtime pay again.
So Ganyu left to visit Cloud Retainer. Doesn't she live in Mount Aozang? We should hurry up. Paimon hopes we can find her there. Person standing over there. That's Ganyu! We finally found her! Ganyu! Here you are!
You two. I did not expect to meet you here. Is it official or private affairs that bring you here? I shouldn't. I have left the human world. Please contact the Yuehai Pavilion regarding matters concerning the commercial port.
Huh? You don't want to be the Qixing secretary anymore? But they're all waiting for you to come back!
That's why you're here? You want me to come back? I'm afraid you came here in vain.
What? Did something happen?
The clouds fold and unfold. The tide ebbs and flows. It was meant to be. When the Adepti entrusted humans with overseeing Liyue, I knew it was only a matter of time until I had to leave. My Adepti blood makes me unwelcome in Liyue Harbor. I delivered the letter and came back to Liyue Harbor, only to discover that I had been replaced by Baiwen, Baishao, and Baishe. Perhaps that mission of mine was just a pretext to remove me. Since the Qixing gave me a chance to leave with dignity, I decided to be tactful as well. I appreciate your kindness, but there's no need for your words of comfort. After 1,000 years away, I came back to Jueyun Karst. Looking at the clouds floating among the mountains brings me peace of mind. I feel better now.
But...
Who disturbs the peace of these mountains?
Cloud Retainer, we're terribly sorry. We just...
One merely jests. One felt your presence the moment you set foot upon this land.
Wow, you Adepti really are impressive.
Come here to chat about the old times with Ganyu. It looks like you get along quite well. A matter leaves you at an impasse then. Not to worry. One is exceptional at seeking avenues for conversation. One has been one's own companion in idle talk for many a year. Yes. Since you are Ganyu's friends, tales from her youth shall one apprise you of, perhaps?
Oh, Cloud Retainer.
Nothing to be ashamed of. You were so cute as a child. One is most certain that your friends would like to hear of it.
Oh, Paimon wants to hear it.
Little Ganyu loved when the horns on the top of her head were caressed. When one was still taking care of her, one was pestered most often to touch her horns. She was elsewise loath to sleep.
Wow.
Plump she was back then. Why, when she stumbled while we ascended the mountain, she would roll down to the bottom like a little ball. The day Ganyu bumped into a pilgrim was the first time she saw a real human in the flesh. So fearful she was that she hid in a rock's cleft for 2 days and nights. One found her wailing of a monster she had seen.
Cloud Retainer? Forget it. It's about time for my training. I will take my leave.
One's intention was merely to relieve the awkward tension.
And you did the exact opposite. Impressive.
Be that so? But returning to Ganyu, most gladdened one is of your arrival. One cannot help but feel that remaining in Jueyun Karst shall not be good for her. One will tell you more about her, if you should permit it. Most benevolent among all Adepti are the Qilin. They drink only spring water and eat only whole grain. But perhaps the mountainous dwellings of Adepti in Jueyun Karst might be too lonely for her human side. Under moonlight did one see her last. She stood by the precipice's edge, and upon the mist-veiled mountains she gazed. Her thin figure was immersed in the vast sea of clouds. One noticed her loneliness and sought to convince her to go back to the human world. But just then, she said thus.
Liyue Harbor feels even lonelier than Jueyun Karst. When I look at the sea of clouds in Jueyun Karst, I merely feel the loneliness of a solitary cloud gazer. When I step into the sea of people in Liyue, I feel the loneliness of an inhuman that doesn't belong in the human world.
One did, by chance, hear this much of Ganyu's thoughts. Alone, she will find her predicament hard to conquer. One hopes that you will accompany her.
Oh, Retainer's right. We can't leave Ganyu depressed like that. Besides, Liyue hasn't given up on her. She's got it all wrong. Anyways, what's that training Ganyu was talking about?
She has sought to reclaim her Adeptus side since returning to Joyun Karst. At her behest, one has organized training for her to achieve that end.